Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to Rise Above TV, where we are empowering humanity and supporting unity. You're watching P3, the place where we feature individuals who have tapped into their power, passion, and purpose. I'm your host, Janie Terrazas, and today I have the wonderful Christian Perez. He's a singer, songwriter, artist extraordinaire. He's such an interesting individual. Thank you so much for being with us today and for sharing some of your story around what it feels like to be living in your power, passion, purpose, and what these things mean to you.
For sure. No, thank you for doing this. This is super cool.
But we're recording this as all of us are quarantined in our homes. Well, a lot of us are. And so I just want to send, a little blessing to everyone who is struggling during these times. And one of the things that I know you're really into is the power of the mind and the connection between the mind and the body and the spirit. And you do a lot of work, personal growth work, and studying in these areas so that when life throws you a curveball, you have this centered, deep resilience inside of you and this ability to rise above and see it from a high perspective. So that doesn't just come naturally. So how did you become interested in knowing thyself in the manner that you have?
For sure. I think it really started. I grew up. I was blessed enough and fortunate enough to have a really good family. I grew up and I never was taught that there was problems. I never was taught any problems, especially my. I want to first talk about my mom. My mom introduced me to The Secret, and she gave me that book, and that book was really amazing. And just the way she's always talked to me as far as think of it this way. Think of the possibility that it could go right is crazy. And I think also at the same time, my dad, he always, if he ever had a problem, it was always, I just got to fix it. And it was never like, he never cried about it. I've never heard my dad cry about a certain situation, ever complain at all. It's always been, this is the problem I'm having and this is how I'm going to fix it. And that's just what I got to do. Right. And I think that that lately, especially, such a cool thing that you asked that, because I've been thinking about that so much lately. Especially being alone right now and having you have to stay home, in a place where it's like, this is very serious. You have to be, you stay home and it's better for your health and other people's health. You have a lot of alone time to think. And I love alone time. I love being able to think. And so I've been thinking lately about how important it is to teach kids and to teach your kids or to anybody that's little, how important it is to have a healthy environment. And you change with your environment, and it's so important to have like a really healthy one, especially when you're little and you're growing up. And I was very fortunate to have that. And I think that's where it started, was because I was just always given that, like you can do it mentality.
Yeah, there was a lot of words of affirmation and probably even like physical touch, that comfort that you need to establish the neurons that are necessary for one to have self-esteem.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think also too, that's a huge part of it. Which was like, I don't see myself as a person that has a self-esteem in a lot of different things. But the one thing I think I have a lot of self-esteem in is my mind, because I know how I think. And a lot of people don't know how they think yet, which is okay. There's people that are in their 40s and 50s that are still learning how they think. That's totally cool. But it's just important to know how you think and know how and confidence is very important in your mind, knowing that I know myself, what I like and what I want is very important, because you go at life and things very differently. And I like the way that I go at things, because I go at them with a purpose, I go with them with a want, because I'm confident enough. Like, I think that was a really cool word you said, is like the confidence.
Yes, confidence, because there's the confidence and self-esteem, and because you understand how the mind and the brain work, then you don't feel, it's very difficult for you to feel helpless. You're coming from a place oh, okay, I got my hands on the steering wheel. Now that I know how this thing works, and more importantly, how I personally
Exactly. Yeah.
work, and how, like you said, how I think, learning how you learn and how you think is really interesting journey to travel down. And you mentioned purpose, you know, how that ties into purpose and feeling purposeful. Talk a little bit about that and how it ties in with your passion.
Yeah, for sure. I read a book called The Purpose Driven Life by Rick. I think it's Rick Warner. And that book is really, really good. I'd recommend anybody to read that. It talks about your purpose, and he says in the beginning that at the end of it, you're going to know your purpose in life. And for a long time, I think your purpose is mostly driven by your talents a lot of the times. And a lot of times people will be like, I don't know why I'm so good at this specific thing. So that's what you're supposed to be doing. And with music, I would never say I'm really good at it. I think I'm a normal musician. I don't think I'm anything crazy. But I think that I've always just been able to do it real quick and real easy. And so with that being said, and not after, especially after reading that book, I just knew that, like, that's what I'm supposed to be doing. And I'm so invested in this, which is like the mind and the spirit and, the quantum field. I feel like that's super important in my music. And it's sometimes not necessarily my music, but I know that when I get where I got to get with my music, I know that I'll be able to teach a lot of people about this. Because it's sometimes you need to, it's the same thing as like when people sign up for an email list. It's like they don't want your email. They want you for a certain reason, whether that be to promote their product or something. It's like the music is the gateway so that I can tell you what I'm trying to tell you. And I haven't made an album yet, which I'm so excited about. I probably won't make an album for a while. And the reason is because when I make an album, I want it to be where enough people hear it and they're like, this is his message. This is what he waited for so long. And I think that my talent is what I'm, what anybody is just naturally good at, or what they naturally gravitate towards. That's what's so cool. It's so cool, especially with like kids. I've been thinking a lot about like just kids, and in between like the ages of 3 and 7, in that area is where they do the most learning, and they learn habits, and they learn things that they will carry on for the rest of their life. And stuff like that, like you got to pay attention to what they like the most, like there's a reason that your kid likes cars. There's a reason they like playing with computers. There's a reason like they like music and all this stuff. And if you feed that to them enough, they're going to become addicted to it in the best way. And that's their purpose.
Yes.
But yeah, I think that's how I knew.
I know power is such a strong word. So
For sure.
Power for you, describe what that means and where you derive it from and how you stay centered in your purest of power.
Power is a really cool word. I think that all energy is power, and it's given to those who seek it. And all life is energy, so just seek energy, and you'll find power. Especially when you're looking. But this is the crazy thing. You got to be very aware, because no matter what type of power somebody seeks, a lot of times, people may be seeking a negative type of energy, and they get it, and they get a lot of it. Or sometimes people will be seeking a positive energy, and that's what they get. They get a lot of it. And for me, I think that staying centered in my power specifically, my power I consider is good energy. I like good energy. I like good vibrations. And I think staying in that is really about consistently being in my mind, because to me, mind, like the mind is power. There's nothing else. And so for me, focusing and reading all the time, and always staying in my mind, and always thinking of things that kind of thinking of things that kind of get me uncomfortable a lot of the times. I want to be able to think things and say things that are weird, but just to say them, and that really makes me feel powerful, because now I'm thinking outside the box. I'm doing things and that's how I stay in my zone, in my power, and get the best out of myself, is when I'm always like thinking, and just purely thinking. It could be about the slightest of things or the deepest things, but that's what power is to me, I think.
Yeah, it's being able to go into contemplation.
Yes.
Yes,
for sure.
Today I was reading up on, and I've heard this word before, it's called metacognition. It's this meta self-awareness, this.
That's cool.
Like, actually it quotes what you were talking about earlier. It's learning how you think, like knowing thinking about how you think and knowing about how you know, or just things like this, you know,
exactly.
real ways of like looking at existence and looking at self and just looking at this whole entire life experience that we're having.
Yes.
So I love that. And I know that another part of your power, passion, and purpose ties into your spiritual walk. And you have a really personal relationship with what you would consider, whatever you feel it's like, universe, God. I'm not sure what word you use, but I know that you are also, like myself, someone who has studied a lot of what Jesus talked about and like the principles.
Exactly.
So how do you define, being that you're a musician and an artist, a lot of times you're under a lot of scrutiny, you know? I know for myself, people that think, well, if you are a true follower of Christ, you wouldn't be saying source or universe, or you know, you wouldn't be talking about science and or whatever it is. You know, there's sort of this like emergence of a new understanding, a higher intellect bridging science and spirituality. So tell us a little bit about that relationship for you and how you honor your own integrity.
Exactly. It's so funny. I was talking about this exact conversation about an hour ago.
And I'm not surprised. We haven't even talked about our crazy connection. Like,
yeah, I know. Yeah, exactly. I think when I started really getting religious, I grew up in the Catholic Church, and especially Catholics. Catholics are very they're very honorable. They're very noble. They're very headstrong. They know what they want, and this is how they see it. And I think as I get older and as I keep going, I used to call, it was God, God only. And I think as I get older now, I call him everything, the universe, Allah, God. I think I call him everything. He is everything. That's the thing that people forget, is like God is everything. But I tend to try to stick away from the word God, because I feel like that's confining him too much.
I agree.
Because the universe is endless. So I'd rather call him the universe, because that's what he is. I mean, Jesus is considered the king of the universe. So even if you want to think about that, that's a thing too. But I think really staying in my own lane is, I don't care about what people think about me, as far as like if I'm trying to explain to somebody, this is how I say things. And a lot of religious people come to me, religious people being, Christian or Catholic, and they'll come and they'll say, but this doesn't make sense, and this is why it doesn't make sense. Or especially, I love and I hate talking to scientists and people that are huge atheists, because I love what they're saying, because their science makes sense, but they're forgetting that the world and the universe is limitless, and there's infinite possibilities. So you have to be open to any idea. And it's the same thing I try to tell anybody I meet that's like super hardcore Christian or Catholic. It's like, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying that there's more bridges. There's not just one bridge. So you got to connect all the angles. But for me, and that's the thing, is I can explain it, and if they're like, no, that's wrong, that's fine. That's you. That's what you do. That's, if you're comfortable, just be your best version of yourself. If that's believing in God in that one way you see him, that's great. Because maybe the way I see him isn't the way you should see him, because that's just not what you're built for. I just know, especially doing music, there's infinite possibilities with music. You can sit there, and I have sat there thinking about, like, I can literally make infinite amount of songs, infinite amount of possibilities. And some people will say that there's actually not infinite chord progressions, which I can see that's possible, but there's infinite possibilities to make songs. I can do one thing that's different than another song, and it's already a new song. But when you think of little things like that, that's just creating music. That's not the universe. But then you kind of think, and you kind of put them together. It's like, well, it kind of is the universe, how the universe works, right? And everything in life works in perfect synchronicity. Yeah. Everything is exactly the same as everything's perfect. Yin and yang is kind of like dualism. Everything is left and right, white and black, which is really cool, because it's actually not. It's more white and white, black and black, because it's perfect parallel.
Yeah, it's they, instead of these competitive forces, they're complementary.
Exactly.
Forces that you can't have one without the other. And
exactly.
I completely understand where you're coming from. I would say maybe in the last couple of years started getting reacquainted or more comfortable with the word God. But funny enough, in
Mm-hmm.
meditation, I heard it as an acronym, like genetic omnipotent designer, GOD.
Mm. That's really cool. Yeah.
Right? And
Yeah,
I
that's
was
really
like,
good.
oh, okay, like I'm
Yeah, I can
happy
do
with
that.
that, because there is order within the chaos. You
Mm-hmm.
know, the Fibonacci sequence, and when you look at mathematics and numbers,
Oh, I love mathematics.
you
Yeah.
know, and sacred geometry,
Oh, yeah.
and the, you know, I'm blown away by the fact that the Milky Way, that shape of the Milky Way, which is that swirl, is on
Mm-hmm.
the top of our heads. Like all of our
Yeah.
hair grows in that manner. It doesn't matter where you're born or what
Mm-hmm.
color you are. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Everything works in perfect synchronicity,
Yeah.
and it down to the things that you can't even see. That's what's so cool, because the like, yeah, I believe heavily in the butterfly effect. Something that happens right now is going to affect something that happens later, whether it be something small or big or something I say, and you know, down to the like flowers and how they're made, and just how the earth works. Everything is in perfect unison. Everything works in a plan and according. There's times of there's day and there's night. There's, you know, there's hot and there's cold, and it's a consistent balance. But that's why it's so important. I think that was kind of a thing that God did to show us, like, look how important balance is on the earth. Now look how important balance is in you,
Yeah.
because you have all this balance that is required for our earth to you know, go round, for us to live, and important for us to just be functioning human beings. But the thing that is, to me, the most important is we don't focus on ourselves and the balance between those things, because that, I mean, we at the end of the day are the ones that are making the world grow. I mean, we're planning the stuff as far as, you know,
Ideas
like,
and
exactly, we're
systems.
evolving. But if we're not stable, we're putting out ideas that are unstable,
Exactly.
and that's why everything eventually is unstable, and that's why bad things happen. And because people aren't focused on, like, having themselves in that center, having themselves, you know, comfortable in that spot.
Yes.
I also think that God thing, the thing you said, it was really cool. It reminded me, there's this designer I know, and he has this thing. He's like a digital designer, and his logo is or his like his not logo, but like, what is it called? Like his catchphrase or whatever is God is a designer. And I think that's so cool, because because he's right. You know, God's a designer. It's really neat. I think that's what that reminded me of.
Yeah. And even like going biblical, I love, there's a sentence that says you are a masterpiece, or scripture, right? And one day I heard, you are a piece of the master here to masterpiece.
Hmm.
And in order for us to master inner peace, right, we're seeking
Mm-hmm.
peace outside of us, externally, to fill some sort of void.
Exactly.
Once you tap into the source of all of creation and know where you're actually getting your power from, and you get anchored in that, you know, it's you start radiating from the inside out, and
Exactly.
you start to realize, oh, like this vessel is my home, and I need to understand how to take care of my mental body, my emotional body,
Mm-hmm.
my spiritual body, so that, and my physical body, and all
Oh
these
yes, for sure.
and all of these things are interfacing. And
Mm-hmm.
so this is a time of self-reflection and self-care. Now that we're all
Oh
sort of
yeah.
quarantined in our homes,
Mm-hmm.
it, like you were saying earlier, it gives you time to really think and reflect. And we should take this time to do that. And I know that you do that on a consistent basis, you know, and I appreciate that about you. Tell us a little bit about where people can discover some of your work, because I know you have music that's already out. I know you have your Instagram page and various ways that people can connect with you.
For sure. Well, all of my stuff, I go by Christian Diego P. And all, you can find me on everything that way. Everything is the same. There's nothing's changed. And I just recently put out some new work, and I put it out under Christian. And I have a link in my Instagram bio if you want to go check it out. And it's really cool. It's a completely different project. It's very vulnerable. I wanted to be very vulnerable with the project. I wrote it based on what I would tell my daughter about Valentine's Day and what I think about love and stuff. It's really cool. I really like it. I think it's super neat, and to go listen to it and just tell me what you think. But yeah, but I go with Christian Diego P, and you can find me everywhere on that.
Thank you so much for your time, and
Yeah, thank you for doing this. This is really cool, being able to talk about stuff like this, because I always think about it, so it's fun to be able to just have conversations about it.
Yeah, we met in a very interesting way, and we hit it off, and each time we get together, we always end up having really deep, profound conversations.
For sure.
And I really appreciate what you were saying about, finding that balance within, and it's the thinker and the feeler. And now's a really beautiful time for us to really be well in that space, And,
yes, that's cool.
And you talked a lot about the mind, but I know that you have a huge heart.
I do. I'm a soft person. I am. I care.
You care deeply, yes, and it shows in your music. So thank you again, and guys, be sure to go check out Christian Diego P, and he has amazing music to share with the world. And thank you everyone for tuning in to Rise Above TV, where we are empowering humanity and supporting unity. Be sure to tune in next week for another P3, where I will feature Lisa Hurst. She's the creator of Improv to Grow. She'll tell us what power, passion, and purpose mean to her. Till next time, peace be in us.